start over with someone that has left a lot on you. Like, I don't know how else to explain that. And I think that the Queen of Pentacles is telling in this situation. Now, what I will say looking at this, that Queen of Pentacles, I think, goes both ways. I think that that's the way that they're seeing you, but I also feel like that's the way that they kind of responded to you. Whether we're talking about a male or female here or a sign, doesn't matter to me. I look at you, though, especially with the Ten of Wands, coming into this, like, having the all or nothing attitude. And that is what's sticking out to me here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go for this. This is everything to me. I'm all in. But with the Queen of Pentacles, we're talking about usually somebody who doesn't, really need to have another person. Now, on the other hand, though, depending on who you're dealing with here, I think the reason why there's like this need to like rebuild the relationship here with the Page of Pentacles is because there may have been another situation involved, but not in that way. Okay, so what I want to tell you here is that I don't believe that the person that you're dealing with has an interest in another person, but that other person may be like a problem. And I say that because the way that you look at it in terms of the relationship is a very heavy burden. This is something being dropped on you that you didn't expect that you were going to have to deal with, I think. Especially going into the Fool. Now, looking at the Ace of Wands, despite the fact that, whether or not we're talking about another person, we're still talking about a lot of things being dropped on you where this, I think, is something that this person should have taken care of. They're still wanting to have this new start, this new beginning, And it's funny because I'm looking at that keyhole going, like, they're wanting to unlock your heart, right? But for you, it's like, this is a bunch of shit that I don't want to deal with. Now, moving out of that, though, and like I've always said with the Page of Pentacles, this is really about learning, using the information that has been learned to build or to start something here or to start over. But I always see it as, a good thing, right? Like I always expect good news or, something good to kind of come out of this. But you moving into the world, I think is, where you want to be, where all of this stuff is kind of like done and over with once and for all. But in a way where you feel good about moving forward, where you're not regretting getting involved with this person. Now, with the Magician on their side, I think that they have the impression that they can make whatever they want to have happen in this relationship, that they have the ability to make something good happen here. And I do think that that's kind of the intention, but I kind of question it too, and that's only because of the Emperor and the Six of Pentacles. The Six of Pentacles being in between you both is saying that if you want this from me, you're going to have to give this. So the equal give and take, yes. But your perspective is, I'm not going to give you shit unless you show me something. And I think that that's what you're expecting, especially if you're willing to say, okay, that chapter is over with the world, right? But the Emperor, though, I always question when that shows up, who is in control? Do you feel like, you have some control over what is happening between you and this person? And I feel like for you, you've allowed them to have too much control. And that's what ended you up in this place of the Ten of Wands, where, you're very close to like ending this relationship in a way where it's because there's just too much shit involved with this person. But they don't want it to be that way. And then looking at the Six of Wands coming out, we're definitely talking about the victory, right? The recognition. But I think that there are some things though that they still need to like recognize before like you're willing to give anything, if that makes sense. But I think that they believe that they have the ability to kind of like do that, right? Like It's funny because I'm not feeling the manipulation on your side, but I don't think that it's like insidious on theirs, if that makes sense. And then the Seven of Swords, Scorpio. What the fuck? Okay. But, you know, I have to be honest, right? Like, that I don't believe is the reason why you're wanting to have control. I think that that's, you know, what you have experienced or are expecting from, because they're showing that, you know, there is something that is not really known, right? Because you're talking about being in the dark about something. But I don't think that it's you. I don't think that that's what's going on with you. So let me explain this. Let's break it down here. So the first thing, you have the Six of Swords and justice, right? Justice immediately is, I need to correct. I need to make amends. I need to be held accountable, right? So I look at the Six of Wands as recognition towards that, but in a way that they feel like they're victorious, right? And there's an ability to kind of like move forward with the relationship here. But clearly there is something that needs to be made up for, you know, but I think that that's on their side, because you looking at it as the Six of Swords is what I was talking about before with the world. I think that you're willing to say, okay, I'm okay with moving on. I'm okay with moving on from the difficulties, right? Because the Six of Swords to me in situations like this doesn't necessarily mean that you're leaving this behind and you're moving the hell away. You know, had it been the Eight of Cups, it would have been a little bit different. This to me is like, I'm leaving the conflict behind. I'm willing to move on from that and leave it in the past. But, you know, Scorpio never really does, though. And that's the thing. But like I said, that feeling is what came off of the world for me. Like, okay, I'm willing to do what's necessary here to kind of close this chapter out in a good way. You know, but you're still having to deal with, I want to move on from this. I just want to move on from this. I want to be done with it. You know, so I almost wonder if you guys feel like you're actually getting that justice. Wow. Okay. So, and I say that because of the way you kind of move out on this, right? So after that, there's kind of this feeling of with the Seven of Pentacles, and this one's interesting to me because it shows the pain and the suffering that was involved as far as getting to, you know, what little bit you have to show for this, right? Because we're only at a 7 here. So, you know, there was a lot of pain getting to this place, and now you're looking at everything, like everything that you have to show for it, right? So for them though, with the Page of Wands, I kind of look at that as, look, right, this is a brand new road. I need you to be like the Fool again, because to me the Page of Wands is very much like the Fool. It's about taking a new path, a path that you have not taken before, the road less traveled, right? I need you to be like that again. I need you to just go with me, right? And trust that. The problem is with the Seven of Swords and then the Angel of the Night, I do think that this one's iffy. The Angel of the Night really represents that, you know, there's assistance coming through that's bringing you out of a dark place. But like I said before, a lot of times this shows that you have been in the dark about a situation. So there may be like an unknown, you know, an unknown reason why you find out about something that is not actually on the up and up with the Seven of Swords. And I don't know how else to put that, because I look at that as, especially on their side, like, let me try to keep them in the dark. But, you know, with the Seven of Swords, that it always ends up coming out. This person always ends up like getting caught, right? That's kind of how I see that, you know, but it definitely shows that, you know, you're dealing with a situation where somebody is doing something that they shouldn't be. Now, like I said, I don't think that this is you because you're trying to move on. Now, we can definitely flip the script here and look at this and go, you know, okay, Scorp, right? This could be for some of you now, where you're doing this, but they're coming out of the dark about it. You know, and for them, it's like, okay, I get it now, right? Like, now I understand. And with justice being there, it would almost make sense. But like, I still feel like with the world, you were the one that was willing to kind of say, okay, let this be over and done with, right? Now, they could definitely be looking at you like you're manipulating it that way. Like that chapter is over and done with. You're not really dealing with the burden. But I don't know. Like I feel it on both sides. And I'm just being honest with that in terms of the person that you're dealing with. So it just depends on the Scorpio that I'm talking to here. Right? But there's still, regardless of whatever has happened or whatever is going on that's coming to light that's needing to be corrected, where you need to look at on whether or not it's worth, taking this new path with them without this kind of like coming to light. There's still this wanting to like rebuild and this need to have the equal give and take. And then the Two of Cups. So, eventually you kind of get back to that. Forgiving and learning, right? So clearly for you, you need to release what has happened in the past with, your relationships in general, but then also with somebody that you may be kind of like dealing with. So it almost looks like, the way that this starts is that, you're very much in love with this person with that Nine of Cups. There's a lot of reason for you to be happy, but then you end up in this place where you're just friends with that Knight of Pentacles being there. But then all of a sudden, you move into this place with the Chariot where it's like, okay, let's give this relationship a sense of direction. I always talk about this being the sneak attack because it's like this person comes out of nowhere and says, okay, let's get this relationship going back to, where it needs to be. But with the Two of Swords, you're like, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know that I want to be a part of that. I don't know if I want to accept what you are offering me. But then you move into this place with the Eight of Pentacles where I look at this as the woman who is like, I'm more focused on other things in my life right now. I don't know that I have time for you or room for you. I don't have time to play with you right now. And I don't think that it's because you're holding on to any hostility over the past. You were together and then you were friends. But for some reason, you're needing to learn how to let go of the past experience. But with the Two of Cups, the connection is like brought right back to life almost. It's interesting. And then the Sun, I'm telling you, like something being brought back to life. Wow, man. All right. So I think that for a lot of you, you're getting involved with a person where you were very much in love with them. Very much in love with them. They possibly you too. And I do think that that's the case, especially with the Two of Cups coming out. Judgment. Judgment is about blowing out, the stagnation in an otherwise happy relationship, right? But, this and like the world, those two for me tend to be the ones where I end up like pulling the traditional meaning from sometimes. But if you look at that, it's almost like this is meant to be. You're meant to be together. There is like a tie there between you and the other person, right? But it's also you kind of like having to go back and look at this. Now with the Eight of Wands, this is, for me, it's like, it's almost like too quick, right? Like you're enjoying the moment, right? This is interesting, I think, for a lot of you, but there is definitely the intention to kind of move things along, right? And again, staying with the traditional meaning, right? But I always look at that as, I see that ladder in the background, like, let's move on, let's move this up, right? It's nice to have these experiences and be wrapped up in them and enjoy them. But I almost feel like for you, the reason why you can't like make the decision to try to get this, back on track is because you were fine with, the memories almost. It's weird. It's like I'm okay with savoring what we once had. But like I said, with the Two of Cups, the connection can't be denied. And then with the Sun, it's like the sun shining on this beautiful relationship, right? You're supposed to be together. It's great. And again, like life being breathed back into, a connection that you had with a person where you just ended up being friends. Wow. But again, I go back to forgiving and learning. So there may be a part of the past that's not that easy for you to let go of, so there may be a little bit of harboring things that I think that are personal to you, but may not have actually been, the reality of the relationship. if that makes sense, right? Like, I didn't want to just be friends, but that's where it went, and I felt like I had no choice but to kind of accept that, but I look at judgment and think you got to look at that a little bit differently, and there's a reason why that's happening. And then the Lovers, wow, the hell is going on here? Okay, now let me just start with the overall. Your friends helping you and supporting you, they may be supporting you because you're making a choice to do something that maybe you shouldn't do. Okay? Yeah. On the other hand, they may be the catalyst for why this happens. And I do think that this is going to have to do with the Scorpios that are in a relationship, but for some reason, something else is coming back around here, or you're getting involved somewhere else that is outside of the relationship. And then there's going to have to be, the choice made here ultimately in the end. But we could flip the script on this, and we could be talking about, the person that you're dealing with, and you may be looking for support from your friends because you've just been through this situation here. But the Ace of Pentacles is what kind of throws me off. So let me explain. The Six of Wands. This is definitely about somebody who's, putting themselves out there, yes, but it's also about playing games. And then you have the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands I look at as, we're hooking up to just relieve pressure and release a burden. There really isn't much to that. It's here and then gone. Because again, we're looking at a 10. There's nothing really to follow through on that. Then you move into the Tower, which is about deceit, jealousy, betrayal. But with the Ace of Pentacles, do you get involved with a situation that actually has the potential here to be something better than where you already are? Because, I always question on if you're not happy with your relationship, I always say that shit happens. But I also believe that, it's your responsibility to deal with, the situations that you get yourself involved in. So if you're not happy with the relationship, you have to deal with that first before you get caught up in situations like this that are going to cause problems. Now, on the other hand, this is already done and over with. You have somebody who is really upset about this situation, but you're looking at a new beginning. But for some reason, your friends are going to be important in what happens. Now, moving on to that with the Wheel of Fortune. This, I don't feel like in this situation is the same thing happening over again. I do believe that this absolutely can be about a second chance. The problem is when you're looking at the Lovers, it's either about you or the other person here who is having a hard time letting go of the temptation. But the Wheel of Fortune would suggest here that things are moving in a better direction, but why is this still an issue? If this is already over and done with. Now, for some of you, if you're looking at like wanting to have more than just this, because that is what the Ace of Pentacles is about, it may not be that way in the end. Ooh, no, Scorpio, listen to me. In this, like I said, again, is only going to be for some of you. You're talking about a situation here with the Knight of Swords where this person is just looking to conquer. Okay, this is about conquer and control. So like I conquered this person. I got to what I wanted to. I got what I wanted from them. And I think that is, the other person that you're dealing with here. And I think that this is outside of an existing relationship. With the Page of Swords, you're talking about somebody who's fucking stalking you. And it's no good, but I don't know that you see that. I think that for some of you, you're going, with the Wheel of Fortune and the Ace of Pentacles, like I need to look at my relationship here, and maybe there is a chance for a new beginning. Maybe there is a second chance here and for things to be better. But this person's persistence may be causing you to think about what could have been because of the moon being there. So this may literally be you fantasizing about two different people, two different situations. But what I'm telling you is that the infiltrator, the instigator here is not a good person. There are no good intentions with this person. And again, it's only going to be for some of you. And what I worry about is Do they try to stay friends with you? You know, but like I said, for some of you, this could very simply be you need to reach out to your friends so that they can, like, you know, help you, give you a different perspective. You know, but this person, though, is no good. No good. Now, like I said, we can flip it and we can be talking about Scorpio, who is constantly, you know, wanting to know what's going on with another person when the situation should be left alone. But I don't think that that's it with the moon coming out. I think that that's the place that you're going to be in with this.